Today I'm responding to scrutiny and answering your questions.
I'm going to call bull. There are two sides of the mud terrain camp. I strongly agree with one of these two.
Those paying extra attention, free chances to score an armrest.
It's been a while since I've done one of these. I've been so busy just editing. I've gone back to just being on my own again. Thank you for your patience. The last three videos, mainly I'm diving into, so I finally get to actually respond to you. Responding to the mud terrain, the real divided question. You only really have two options because highway terrains just won't cut it. Here is Dennis LeBlanc's view. Very good review, but you forgot one important difference. Mud terrains are terrible on wet pavement. They also have less grip on pavement, so worse cornering and braking. I'd rather have the safer tyre on the road where you're much less likely to have an accident or close call. Super Hurricane on the other side of the argument. Some of the sketchiest tyres in the wet are all-terrain tyres. Mud terrain tyres are far less likely to aquaplane. All-terrains have a harder compound and rely on the tread design more than the mud tyres, which typically have a softer compound and rely more on grip from the rubber itself. It does depend on the tyre. You do have some hard compound tyres and you do have soft compound tyres. Now, soft compound tyres wear faster, but for me, they tend to have more grip on the road. It's also going to come down to the conditions of the road. There's a lot of factors that could come into play, but what I definitely agree with is the aquaplaning. Aquaplane, you do that far less with a mud terrain. There are some wet tyres that are going to be better than all of these put together, but in the sense of all-terrain versus mud terrain on a wet road, from my experience, mud terrains seem to have better grip, except for that one time with a certain tyre that I had on one of my first four-wheel drives, but they were pretty worn too. So it's going to come down to a lot of different things, but I find them okay. One tyre you're not supposed to have on the road, but grips like you wouldn't believe, Trepadors. I have the sticky Trepadors competition tyre. They're bias ply. They're not meant for the road. However, I have travelled on the road with them to get to my destination and play around in the mud and on the rocks and stuff at my local tracks. And I'll tell you what, in the wet, they grip like you wouldn't believe. Double Helix 109 has a really good point. Now, I did mention this throughout that video that it's really brand dependent. Highway terrain, weak as piss. All terrain, brand dependent. The mud terrains do get noisier as they wear down. Some brands are noisier than others, but I think what is more pointing out is overall performance on the road, off-road, everything, and the wear and tear and how they handle themselves. It comes down to the quality as well. You can get cheap inferior tyres, they won't last as long, but if you want something that's going to last you, you got to have a good quality tyre. And another question or response I've seen all throughout those comments, all terrains and mud terrains. I didn't talk about the RTs, which are rugged terrains. My opinion on the RTs, they are just glorified, aggressive all-terrains. They claim to be the pattern between the all-terrain and the mud terrain. But if you look closely and compare brands online, you will note that some all-terrains are quite aggressive and have a very similar pattern to the RTs. In my mind, there's not really any in-between tyre. Like, it doesn't make sense. You either have an aggressive all-terrain or you have the full-fledged mud terrain. Having something in between, I don't buy it. The new Land Cruiser Prado 2024. James Auxilio, hope I said your name right. He's in the market for another vehicle and he wants to know what my experience is like with the 2024 Land Cruiser Prado. Unfortunately, you could almost call it the 2025 Land Cruiser Prado because there's none here available to test drive or anything yet. So they'll be coming soon though. I heard that Toyota are opening their books soon. Could order one, but it's like a year or 2 year wait to get one. Unless you've been on that waiting list from the beginning. So with the new Land Cruiser Prado, you're looking for a vehicle that can tow. You're coming from a 70 series, you want some more luxuries, you don't like the shape of the old Prado, what do you call them? The ugly Prado shapes from the past decade. I'm guessing you don't like the rounded shape of the vehicle. Fair enough, the new Prado does look much better than the old one. You tow a medium-sized boat. If you're purely doing this for towing, I'll suggest a 2.8 litre 70 series. But you want the luxuries. If that's the case, then you're gonna have to wait and see what the new Prado's like, but you might be waiting quite some time to get it. The new Prado's coming out with an 8-speed, but the same 2.8 litre engine. The towing capacity, I believe, is the same as the current 76 series. Look, I even think you're going to be waiting quite some time to get a 70 series 2.8 litre as well. That's going to be a tough one. It might actually come down to what's available first for you. Now to answer Mike Zog, the new 2.8 70 series has the same engine as Prado, 150 kilowatts. I would really like to know and see a comparison and know your thoughts on the two similarities, differences, better, worse, etc. All I can say, Mike, you are going to be flooded with that information because I've just done that.
Impressive.
That exact comparison with Harry from Fighter Fork.
Is it a Land Cruiser? That's what I want to know. No.
Deep dive into which is better versus each other.
The rear end showdown.
We went through every single aspect of these vehicles.
Oh my God.
We might have had a little bit too much fun. Would you like an opportunity to get a free armrest by just commenting down below the color and the word, and I'm just going to pick out three lucky winners and we'll send these to you. How about that? They don't fit 200 series and they don't fit an Ineos Grenadier because the Ineos Grenadier has an armrest already. And speaking of the Grenadier, Marco van Staden 45. Love the new 70 series. What happened to the Grenadier? Will we see it again? Yes, you will. I've actually sent it to service. It's been sitting there for a week and a half. I've just been so busy, I haven't had a chance to pick it up. Maybe I'll get it tomorrow, but it is coming back, so don't worry about that. I did have to postpone my desert trip because of all the rain we've had in WA. Now, I love the rain, so I'm not going to complain about it. To continue with your question, will you get the rear track width corrected with a corrected axle, or will you just go with spacers? Looking forward to the next episode. Yeah. Replacement axle to fix the narrow axle on my 76 is kind of like coming down to a funds thing. Can't really justify or afford that at the moment. I'm getting by with not spacers, but a different offset. So I've got -50 offsets on the rear. My spare tire is a 0 offset, which means that should I puncture or completely stuff up one of my rear rims, I can just replace it with the 0 offset. It'll just look a bit funny. But I can't put the -50s on the front, and that's why I have 3 tires that are 0 offset and 2 in the rear that are -50. So the spare has to be one that can fit everywhere. So here's an extra tip. Those being it, oh shit. All the scrutiny and all the questions about my vehicle, the 76, why no winch on it. And I am a little bit concerned because this beautiful bull bar doesn't have a winch. Throughout that Holland Track video that I did recently, that's in 2 parts. I'm just going to read all these comments and then I'll respond to all of them. All that cash for the car, then the kit, but no $400 winch in startup mode. Hello? He's saying it's a no-brainer. Asho Keb, great bar, but no winch. Glad the talent and luck got you through. Maybe a bit more luck than talent, eh? Boris Ekner, friendly question. At this time, you mentioned no winch several times. He's even got a timestamp code. 12 minutes.
Ooh, shit. Not quite the way I wanted to go. Oh no, don't hit the tree. Gee whizzy, man.
There are no trees large enough to anchor a winch cable to, so if that's the most common situation, why even think about a winch at all? This is going to be cool, the answer. Dean Randall wants to know which winch I'm going to go with, if I put one on, and what brand and size and why. Stephen English, enjoy all your videos, experience and expertise, but no winch? There's a little bit to unpack there. First of all, why think about a winch in the first place? There were plenty of trees around, so there were plenty of anchor points. And when you have a lot of small trees around, you can sort of put a strap around a whole bunch of trees as low as you can, and you can use that as an anchor point, providing that the trees aren't obviously like a tiny bush. But there were enough out there to actually winch off. You can also make your own anchor point by removing a spare tire, spending a lot of time digging it into the ground. But if you're by yourself, I mean, that's the only way you're going to get out, right? I've done this before on the beach, burying a tire. Hey, Ronny here. Oh, my hat. Hard work, man. It's so much hard work. And the first time I did it, I actually did it wrong.
Well, that didn't work, did it?
I should just pull the tire out of the ground. So there is a certain way of doing these things.
There you go. It is possible.
I'm definitely going to put a winch in it though. Which brand I'm going to go with? I've always gone with Horn, although I have, in the early days, I had some real cheap ones. I had one of those fail and one just like a $400 winch, and it just...
All right, go back a little.
it just never died. I'm likely just gonna go worn or something like that. So why haven't I done it yet?
Well, I made a choice on the bull bar, and that's what we're about to do right now. I'm in fact at mission 4x4.
When I put the bar on the vehicle, one of the main pointers of that bar was the fact that you can add a winch later on. You don't have to put the winch straight away into the bar and put it on. I didn't have time to wire the winch up, and that's why I didn't bother getting one. I am that under the pump, I'm that far behind. I actually need to find a auto sparky who's mobile. I've got a fair bit of work for it. If there's anyone out there who can recommend a really good quality mobile auto sparky, let me know. Let me know. I need one. It is freezing cold. I'm now going to respond to the advice you guys have given me with cold camping. For example, I love to explore. Sorry, but if you need to wear tracky dacks and a hoodie to be warm enough in your sleeping bag, you need to get a better sleeping bag. Even in -5, I'm just in my grundies. If I zip up my sleeping bag, I'll be fine, but I get too sweaty, so I don't do that. Now, my whole purpose of the tracky pants and the jumper, so I can climb out of my swag and just stay warm, stay comfy. You can't beat the comfort of tracky dacks at a campsite. You just can't. Now, speaking of cold, someone else in here said I need to get a stretcher because if I have a stretcher, it's going to keep me warm. But I'm going to call bullshit grundies because I've been there, I've done that, and actually that was the worst night of camping in the cold because I thought I was going to die from hypothermia. Ever since then, I have put my swag back on the ground. It is just so cold. You're allowing the heat to disappear from under and over if you're on a stretcher. You really have to rely on your sleeping bag and your mattress and your stretcher for that to even be remotely warm. So no way. Taranas 616 suggests I get a diesel heater. I don't know how that's going to work with a swag. I think that's a lot of effort. I'm happy with my tracky dacks and my hoodie. Here are 2 videos you would likely want to have a look at. Thanks for watching. See you next time. And good luck with the armrests.